We're live here with another episode of the Strike Zone Lightning podcast. I know there's always about a 10-second delay when we launch this, when it starts heading to YouTube. So thank you to everybody that has planned on tuning in here tonight. I'm joined again by Joe Schultes. How's it going, Joe?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great because we are sitting here with one of my Twitter legends, Sergio Rodriguez, aka Lift Gift. How's it going, Sergio?
Man, I'm having a great time. Thank you for having me.
That's awesome. I'll start by gushing briefly. Sergio holds the title of being the first person I ever saw on Twitter with a Lightning. So I was telling Sergio before, I feel like I know Sergio. I've got a parasocial relationship with Sergio, even though he may not recognize me. I feel like I've known him for a long time. So thank you for quenching all of our thirst. Those of us that didn't get our Lightnings as early as you did.
Yes.
But so I figure a good jumping off point of getting to know Sergio would be like, can you just tell us like kind of your automotive history? Like, obviously, I'm guessing you haven't always driven EVs. So what cars led you to your first EV, and then how did you find yourself with a Lightning?
Great question. So, I have always been an auto enthusiast. Growing up, I was the kid that had the Lamborghini up on the wall. I was the kid that had the Mustangs on the wall. I was that kid. I was all about cars. My sisters and I would sit out in the driveway and point to cars driving by. We'd rotate numbers, and it'd be like, the first one's going to be yours, the next one's going to be mine, the next one's going to be hers, and then we'd pick it, and then we'd celebrate like if we got like a really cool car. And it's like, fast forward to that, and now I'm the guy with the cool car. But it's I started out with performance vehicles. I've had Mustang GTs. Um, I've had Maserati. I've had Mercedes. I've had BMWs. I've had all types of high power vehicles, like just fun cars. But I decided to go into the EV space because I'm cheap. I'm frugal. I know it doesn't sound like that because of the vehicles I just mentioned, but I am frugal. And so gas prices in California started to get a little out of control. And I decided, you know what? I'm scared of electric vehicles, but I'm willing to try a plug-in hybrid. So I bought a Fisker Karma. And so the Fisker, I know, right? Like I said, I'm frugal because I was finding all the free chargers. I was trying to figure out exactly how to to benefit off of that 50-mile of range with plug-in, just full EV. And that was my first dive in. And then I ordered a Model S Tesla. And then after that, I got a 2017 Hyundai Ioniq when they first announced that they were coming to the US. They were going to sell 250 of them in Southern California only. And so I lived in Southern California. And so I ended up buying one. It was a lease. It was $275 a month. They reimbursed you for the first 50,000 miles of EV charging on the national average for kilowatt hour. And then if you kept the car after the lease, you got unlimited mile warranty for the drivetrain and battery. Like, it was a no-brainer to get this car, right?
Yeah.
So got the car, and then got a Model X, got another Model X. Ford announced that they were doing the Mustangs, and I was just like, as a Mustang fanatic, somebody who's owned 8 Mustangs in their lifetime, I was like, I want that, I need that, and then got the Mustangs, and then the truck came out. I had an F-250 before as well, but the truck they announced, I was just like, well, I totaled my F-250, so this is the perfect time to get a truck because I wasn't going to buy another gas one, and they have the electric. I love towing. I like having toys behind me, so let's do it.
Geez, Joe, I don't know if you're doing the mental math here, but it sounds like Sergio has had a different vehicle about every 6 months since he turned 16.
He's got maybe, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I don't know if we ever delved into your, what's the bullet version of your car history that led you to the Lightning?
I mean, just the pickup trucks. I started driving a pickup truck in 2014 was my first pickup truck.
Okay.
Before that, I had a 2013 Nissan Maxima.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I thought that thing moved. This thing puts it to shame now.
Right.
Before that was a Chevy HHR. That was my first new car that I got from a dealer. And then before that was an Oldsmobile Regency 1989. It was a metal tank. It was my first car. I loved that thing. But
It's interesting to hear those two like lineages to highlight what different types of people have the Lightning has brought together. Like it's
yeah,
attracting people that dreamed of Maseratis, and it's attracting people that drove Oldsmobiles and everything in between. I mean, just because it's such a utilitarian vehicle and it's so fast. But I want to circle back to Sergio. You mentioned Fisker. So how long did you own that Fisker for?
Couple years, and it started to
Okay.
be a problem. And so I had number 789. So the thing about the Fiskars is, they only made a certain amount in
Yeah.
2012, and that was it. They went bankrupt. So I owned number 789. It was a black. It was an Echo Chic. So
Hmm.
fully loaded, really nice. But it started having the issues with the cracked exhaust system and overheating, the cooling
Hmm.
fan, different little things. I mean, the car was great when it was running great. Like, I mean, I
Hmm.
felt like it was much before its time. Like, it wasn't ready for that moment yet. But
Yeah.
even still, I still look at them every so often, and I'm considering, and I go back and forth if I want to buy another one. So
Yeah.
that's how much I really enjoyed that car.
Well, that was going to be my follow up. Is that I don't follow Fisker very closely, but I know they've launched a new EV within the last year.
the
Did
Ocean.
your
Yeah,
eye did
Yeah,
your
for
eye
sure.
ever stray from your Lightning? Your like nostalgia factor for this brand you'd already had some loyalty to.
Well, kind of yes and no. I thought about it. I reserved it for a bit, and then like I kept looking at the vehicle itself, and I was just like, it's a little, I just couldn't. It The more I looked at it, the less like interested I became.
Hmm.
It's just it wasn't. It didn't have that wow factor for me, and so it's gonna look like every other vehicle that's out there. I mean, no
Right.
disrespect to Fisker, but it's just. I mean, the price point is great. And they're also dragging their feet on it. Like had they, came out when they said they were going to do it, I mean, I probably would have had one, but
Yeah.
they've been a little slow.
yeah. They had some delays, I think, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I learned quickly about Sergio from his tweets is that not only do you road trip a lot with your Lightning, but you're towing, which is something I was telling Joe a few weeks ago. I've never towed anything in my life. This is my first pickup truck. Um, but I went on a road trip recently and was having some charging woes, so I was hoping to seek some wisdom from the two of you in regards to being Lightning owners and not wanting to rip my hair out the next time I go on a road trip, which is actually tomorrow. I'm
Don't
going to
have any.
Philadelphia. Um, so, Sergio, what's the longest road trip you've done in your F-150 Lightning?
Longest road trip has been from north of Jacksonville, Florida, so right on the coast, a little area called the little city is called St. Mary's, Georgia, just north of Jacksonville, Florida, right over the state line, and
Hmm.
on the ocean, all the way here to Monterey, California, where I'm at now. That
Oh,
was the longest road trip, a little over 3,200 miles, and
Okay.
oh man.
towing my 37-foot trailer.
Okay. Joe, not that we're comparing, it's not a competition. Joe, what's your longest road trip that you've done, towing or not towing?
Uh, Towing was, I think it was 400 miles. We only went up to Maine from upstate New York here.
Okay.
That was my first like out of state trip that I did with the camper.
Yeah.
Um, we were looking into doing Cape Cod this year, which is just
Okay.
about the same, but we ended up canceling that, and we're doing a couple other things. But my longest trip I've taken, it's probably got to be one of my trips out to either Massachusetts, or actually it's coming up. I'll be going down to the Electrify Expo in Long Island. That'll be
Okay.
pretty
Nice.
decent of a trip for me too. So
So, Joe and I have already compared how we prepare for a road trip. Um, Sergio, I mean, are you one of those trust the truck people? You get in, it detects your trailer, and you're just like, okay, it's telling me I got to reroute, and you're just living by what the Ford screen is telling you. Are you one of? Is that you?
So when I bought my first Lightning. I got my first Lightning last year. The
Yeah.
2022 Lariat. That's how I did it. I punched in my destination, and I had the navigation tell me exactly where I was stopping, how long I was stopping, and that's how I did it.
Okay.
While I'm towing, I'm a little bit more cautious because one, the parking lots might not be prepared, set up for a trailer. So I got to make sure that I scope out the area. And I usually do that with PlugShare. I'll look at where it's telling me to stop. I'll pull it up on PlugShare, look at the parking lot, maybe pull up an aerial and say, you know what, I might skip that one and stop sooner, or I might stop right after, whatever I can make it to in order to, make sure that I can get in there, because some of these parking lots are not trailer friendly.
Yeah. And so, Joe, feel free to chime in on this one, because I was describing this to my parents, and they were like, we were talking about the charging stations and how they're not all set up for towing. I mean, how much of an inconvenience is it if you're saying to yourself, okay, it's not a pull through, so I will have to disconnect over here, pull over, charge? Like, is that a non-starter for both of you? Or is that like, okay, that's the state of the world we're in, I guess I'll do it, and it'll waste an extra 30 minutes? Where are you guys at with that?
Sergio, you're the guest. Go right ahead.
Okay. So on my road trip here to Monterey, I probably disconnected the trailer maybe about 40% of the stops that I had to make, which is pretty
Not bad.
considerable. Well, it's considerable considering how far I went, but not terrible because it was more that I didn't have to. Like, I was able to pull up, charge, and be on my way. But honestly, like, the size trailer that I have, like, you find a spot for it. It has an electric jack, so you push the button, it drops itself. You're like, you're unhooking things really fast. The Lightning has a beautiful setup for the hitch, so it's like everything's just right there. It's quick, you're unplugged and ready to go in less than 5 minutes, and then you just go pull up and go charge your truck. So it's not a no for me. If I have to disconnect, it's not terrible. The only thing is you got to make sure there's a place for you to disconnect, because not all parking lots also have a place where you could park your trailer and then go charge, and at least have your trailer within eyesight. So then that way you're not around, it's not around the corner in some weird alley, and So the key for me was also make sure that I can, have it someplace safe.
Yeah. Joe, what about you?
Sorry, there was like a dogfight behind me. Sorry about that. Yeah, so like when we went to Maine, I disconnected, I want to say 2 out of the 3 stops I had, so about 75%.
Okay.
I just didn't have a choice. So like the one charger we hit in Chicopee, Massachusetts, that parking lot blows for taking a 36-foot trailer through it. I mean, I was, centimeters from curbs left and right, and just praying to God the thing doesn't tip up behind me, kind of thing, and clip the back wheels. But disconnect, like he said, the 10-15 minutes for me. My jack is extremely slow. I'm not gonna lie. It's really, that's all I have to wait on. That and the weight distribution hits, you got to take all that stuff off. But pulling in and plugging in, it was fantastic. We did do it. Forget where exactly the stop was, but we did do it where it once. We set the camper up right up behind the truck and plugged it into the onboard power while it was charging. Ran the AC in there and had lunch. We took food out of the fridge and had our lunch right there. And it was kind of like an abandoned side of the mall, so there was nobody really there anyways. It looked like a big retailer had just recently left. So, it was just us. It was us, a Rivian, and I think Ioniq 5 that were there. And the Rivian and the Ioniq 5 came right over. They're like, "How are you moving that thing?" I was like, "You should see it." It's just it sucks. For me, it's the charging is what it is. There's no pull throughs like that that's going to fit a 36-foot camper right now. I'm not worried about it, but it's a pain in the butt sometimes. It doesn't stop me though.
Yeah. I mean, when I first bought my Lightning, I was paranoid, again, first pickup truck, of just something flying out of my truck bed and ending up in the highway. So I cannot imagine the paranoia of towing this gigantic, basically a house. You're towing the house.
100%.
I mean, not only when you're trying to charge, but then when you're on the road, merging. I mean, you're the biggest thing on the road for large portions of your trip. I can't imagine. I'm not ready for that. I haven't graduated to that quite yet. But one thing we were talking about, since we're talking about the charging infrastructure, is recently EA kind of announced that they're switching their pricing plan. They bumped up the
Yes.
cost of the membership, which I'm not a member. Maybe you guys will talk me into becoming a member. But also, each site is going to determine how much it charges. So as a new EV driver, I immediately got a little cynical and assumed I'd be paying more in the long run now. Are you guys the cool heads to talk me out of that, or is that the reality?
Well, the reality is that these companies that we are having to utilize for charging have that control when it comes to pricing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not much we're going to be able to do besides make sure that we're price shopping and also, encouraging competition. Because if
Yeah.
we sit there and allow one company to just have that say all, then yeah, we're going to have to deal with whatever they give us. But as far as
Yeah.
EA goes, I had signed up for their membership when it was $4. I know that they're going up to $7. But the thing about it is that if you're road tripping, I mean, I drive a lot. You're gonna save. You're gonna pay for that membership and save then some. If you're charging I mean, for the Lightning, you're talking about two charges, and it would pay for that membership. That if you did two good charges, so it's like why sit there and pay more or then decide to do it later? It's like I would sign up for it if you're going to do a road trip, and then when you're not and you're going to be just local, then turn it off because it's not like you're committed to it. You can
Right.
turn it off and turn it on as you please.
Joe, does that sound like that's going to be your approach as well? Are you already? Do you pay the monthly fee?
I do. I just started. I do it more often when I do my road trips, which is usually the summer. Little guys off from school.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of road tripping this summer. So I turn it on. I didn't do it last summer. I just did the plug and charge.
Yeah.
And I was trying to justify that the plug and charge was worth the price difference. And then I got the pass, and it absolutely wasn't. Give me 1 second. Somebody's ripping through the neighborhood back here.
Yeah.
But I did the pass this summer, and the first time I charged, it felt like it cut like 50% of my costs down immediately.
Okay.
And I saw a dramatic difference and was like, you know what? I'll just do it in the summers when I do my road trips, and I'll turn it off. And getting that email kind of sparked like the fear that I had for what electric charging infrastructure was going to turn into.
Yeah.
I'm fearful that we all got in and went, oh, all right, prices aren't too bad. It's not, and then they're just going to take hold of it and charge, whatever they want now because we're in.
Yeah.
It's what we see at the pumps sometimes with the price gouging, and I just hope we stay away from that.
Yeah.
But I also understand they're a company; they have to make money. But
so it sounds like you guys aren't. You guys are very consciously turning on and off your subscription when it meets your needs. That would not have occurred to me at all.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's a smart tip for viewers to take away, is you can be flipping it on and off as you need. Now, are either of you guys grandfathered in? Did you lock in your $4 per month for like the next 12 months, or no? You're going to start paying the $7.
I don't think there was I don't know if you know, Sergio. I didn't have a grandfathering option or anything.
I don't think that was an option. I think everybody has to pay the difference.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. And then another thing I took away from Joe last week was, if you pay the monthly fee, you lose the plug and charge ability, which I'm now in love with plug and charge. Now that I found that in the Ford Pass app, I'm like, this is the way to go.
Yep.
But Sergio, you're saying you're not a plug and charge guy. You're the subscription type of guy. Okay.
Yeah, so, because of the pricing difference is if I use plug and charge, I'm paying more. Like I'm throwing away money. Like I said earlier to you guys, I'm frugal, so I'm going to figure out what is the best way to save more of my money and not just give it away when there's options. Like I don't mind picking up my phone and saying start to charge because I'm saving some money.
Right. I was just enthralled with the technology of you could plug in and it would just go, and it was really convenient. And then I looked into the pricing and I went, why am I doing this? I just do it on my phone as I walk away. I really don't care.
It's a cup of coffee. Like you could literally pay for a cup of coffee by the time you're like, opening your app and paying for it that way instead of using plug and charge.
Right. Well, and one thing I noticed is even though plug and charge works, because I see a lot of tweets about like, oh, plug and charge didn't work at this location. It's never not worked for me. But my complaint is that I plug it in and I still have to stand there and press the continue button, because it sits for a minute and it loads up. And unless it's already started charging,
Yeah,
guys,
you don't
educate
have to
me.
touch anything. Yeah, no.
That's what this is
Just
for.
plug in and
Okay.
walk away.
So when you plug it in and you see that, continue or that cancel like on that screen, that's just the handshake that's going on. It's communicating, it's doing its thing. When you hit continue, it's gonna progress to the screen to show you that you're charging anyway. So you
Okay.
don't even have to touch continue. Continue is just I want to see that screen now instead of
Okay.
waiting that little, handshake moment that it's doing. So it makes no difference when you hit continue besides for yourself.
As long as you see the blue circle light up, actually blue and not white, next to your charge port, you're good to go.
Okay, because I'm trying to save valuable seconds when I'm road tripping, and I'm thinking if it starts charging 30 seconds early, I'm gonna stand here and press continue.
Yeah, it's gonna take its sweet time regardless.
Okay,
you're not
all right.
you're not gonna bypass that. You're not gonna make it go faster.
This isn't the Tesla Supercharger network, okay? Come on now.
All right, okay. All right. Well, that's good news. I'm going to take this brief break. The chat is working this time around,
It is
so
today.
feel free to say hi. I'm just going to give a shout out to Gary and Christopher who are in the chat. Christopher's very excited to see you. Now, Sergio, I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you met Christopher Bowe at any of those California meetups for the Lightning?
So I invited Christopher to an event in Las Vegas where we got to meet Darren Palmer, the VP of and so that's how I got to meet Christopher. So I told him about the event. I was like, hey, it would be great to see you. So I met him there in person, and then we also met together when we co-hosted the Electrify Expo Cars and Coffee for Ford up here in San Francisco. So it was I've met him a couple times, and we chat regularly.
Okay. Well, because I knew he was part of that California Lightning gang, but he's part of the Twitter crew that I've followed since he has had his Lightning for a minute. So you were also at the one that happened in front of the aircraft carrier.
Yes,
that was you.
Yes.
Okay. Whew. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Chris and I are the ones that locked that in.
Good work, because I haven't.
Great work.
I think everyone who plans a meetup for the next year is going to have that one in the back of their mind of like, that one had a big impact. That's a good like hallmark.
I'm in the process of planning the coffee and cars meetup for the Lightning Club before the Electrify Expo in Long Island. Nice. I can't find anything as badass as that picture right there that Chris took. If you're not sure what we're looking at, look up Chris Bowe on Twitter there. He's got the Bay Area Lightning Club that he admins, and he's got that sick photo with the carrier in the background. That is a winner in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to seek more guidance from you guys because Joe, you sent me an invite to this thing that's happening in Bethesda, Maryland.
Yes.
It's a Ford. It's not just for EVs, right? Or is it?
I think it's just for EVs.
Sweet.
I know. I think it's this weekend, actually, right? The 22nd, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna go, and I'm actually nervous because I've never been to a Cars and Coffee even for internal combustion, and so I don't know. I'm excited, and I was actually really excited when I thought I was going to get to meet Joe in person, but unfortunately he can't make it. So I was like, dang, I'm not going to have a buddy, and I'm just going to pull up, and I'm going to put 7 creams in my coffee and just throw myself to the wolves, I guess. So what can I expect at this meetup? And maybe if there are viewers that haven't been to one, like, why should someone go?
Oh, man. So my answer to that is I've been to Cars and Coffee for ICE vehicles, for electric vehicles. I regularly attend Cars and Coffee. So you show up. Normally whoever is coordinating it will bring like a decent supply of coffee. Some will even bring donuts, and you literally just pull up. Everybody's very casual. You just find a parking spot. There's no rules or regulations. It's just come, leave when you're ready. And they put it between certain hours, and you pull up, you put your car on display, you can open it up so people can look inside, you can roll down windows, you can keep it locked if you want to. But it's literally just for auto enthusiasts to come out and just talk about their cars and, check out other cars and see what people have modified, give them maybe ideas of what they might want to do. It's just it's a
Yeah.
really good time with like-minded people when it comes to the automotive industry.
And that's what we
Okay.
do with our Lightning Club too. I actually started hitting the ice car show circuits with this last summer,
Yeah.
just to, I don't know, maybe poke a little fun at the people that don't
Right.
like EVs. But we
Yeah.
went to one of them. My son and I were at it. We set up, and I brought the TV and put it up in the front, and him and I were playing Mario on the TV while people were coming over, and
Yeah.
keeping the 4-year-old busy. 3 at the time, keeping the 3-year-old busy, and
Yeah.
still showing the truck off. So, that me doing that last summer turned into the Northeast Lightning Club, really, which led to the Lightning Clubs of America, because that's what we do. I mean, Chris organized that with Sergio and stuff, and that was most of what their membership that they had at that time had shown up that day. So, they've grown substantially since then, and our club does the same thing. And we're planning on doing that in Long Island. And the Bethesda one, Ford actually reached out and asked me to put that out, just in case we had anyone close to Maryland, on the southern end of the Northeast that wanted to shoot down there. So clearly it worked.
Joe, when is Ford going to start paying you? Because it sounds like you're their inside man. You're like their clandestine operative here amongst the rest of us, where like they're taking you out on trips. They're having you spread the word.
I don't have the specialty as Sergio would have. My truck isn't in the Ford 120th anniversary video there. I thought it was my truck at first, but it's not mine, unfortunately. Him and I have the same logo.
Thank you for bringing that up, because Sergio, I'm going to interrogate you. I'm sorry, because I've got about 14 questions about this, because I only saw it via Twitter. So first I see the video and I go, that's cool. They got some Ford vehicles. Happy birthday. The end. And then I see you tweet that it's your truck, and that's where the questions arise. So I'm sorry, but from start to finish, who reached out to you? Were you driving in the commercial? I want to know everything.
So yeah, that actually happened pretty interesting. So I had a friend reach out to me that works at Ford. She indicated that they could not find a Lightning and they needed to do this shoot. They were trying to help out the company for the shoot. So she was
really?
like, can we please borrow your Lightning? Like, all of ours are already on loan. I forgot what state they were in doing something, and they're like, we need a Lightning. I know, Joe, your face is like. So they were like, can we please borrow yours? Can we borrow yours? And I was just like, sure, why not? And so they're like, we'll need it for a few days. Like, we'll come pick it up. We'll get it cleaned. We'll drop it back off. We'll clean it, and literally just hand us the keys. We'll handle it from there.
Sweet.
And they had a stunt driver driving it. They sent me the videos and everything before they released it to the public. It was
all right.
We did a Zoom call. They showed me everything. We were talking about it. I mean, it's pretty badass to know that my truck is in the 120th anniversary video. Like,
your truck is forever forged in history for Ford.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I was so excited to hear that was you.
Yeah. Well, who outed me was Jim Farley. That wasn't me. He's the one that opened that door and was like, shout out to Sergio for letting us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was
well, like I said, when I saw the video, I immediately tweeted and I was like, that looks like my truck. Like, I don't see too many white yours is the platinum. That's right. I don't see many trucks though with that Ford logo on the front. That from Putco there, and I had just got mine done. Maybe 6 months earlier. So I'm like, all right, hold on. Like, who else is Ford going to include that now? Like, is that going to be an add-on? Like, what is this commercial for?
They need to put that emblem.
Yeah, absolutely,
on the Lightning, like, because of like how it just illuminates and goes.
It makes the whole front end pop.
Oh yeah, they need to do it. Yeah, I'm advocating for that. I'm advocating for it.
I'm with you. Let's do it.
All
National campaign.
Well, Sergio, I think it says a lot about your character that you weren't going to broadcast that was your truck, and then Jim lets the cat out of the bag, and you're like, all right, I guess yes, that's my truck, everybody.
Guess I have to, right?
But you had posted a cryptic tweet back when they shot it and said, like, my Lightning was off doing lightning things, and I didn't give it a second thought.
Oh.
I was like, all right, he did something exciting. I was still jealous because I didn't have mine at that point. And so then to see everything come together after the fact, I was like, oh man, he planted the seeds. Like, that's just incredible. Like,
Yeah, I'm not a huge one when it comes to like bragging about different like functions or different things. Like, I appreciate one thing I appreciate about Ford is that they're so inclusive on tapping into their customer base for
yeah.
feedback and input, and so I take that and I appreciate it. So I'm very like careful with what I say and do because I don't want to mess that up
Hmm.
because
Oh yeah.
they're listening to like my feedback. Like I could call them and
Hmm.
say, "Hey, I think that you guys should consider doing this or, have you thought about this?" And they'll
Hmm.
say, "Oh, you know what? We didn't think about that, Sergio. Like, let me
Yeah.
get back to you." And they'll follow up with me. I'll get emails, I'll get like just, conversations going and I'm just like I've never been able to do that with any manufacturer of any vehicle I own. And like I told you
Yeah.
guys earlier, with all the vehicles I've owned, never once have I had a manufacturer be that involved with what I've been doing. And I mean, I've always been loud. Like you can pull back my tweets and search my name with Hyundai.
Hmm.
You'll see how I was bragging about driving that Hyundai Ioniq, how efficient it was. I mean, that thing was voted most efficient for 2017, 18, and 19 till Tesla Model 3 took over in 2020 on that efficiency list. But like
Yeah.
I bragged about that car regularly. I bragged about, when I had my Tesla. I talk about things that I enjoy and never once have I had a manufacturer say, you know what, I appreciate you.
Let's
And I'm
hook
just
up
like,
and yeah.
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 Yep.
That's what Ford has done for me is like they have shown their appreciation.
The direct access. So I don't know if you saw my tweet earlier last week. Sergio, I don't know if you're on the beta program either, with the software updates, but I got that software update where it shows you the percentage of the battery in the driver assisted cluster gauge.
Yes.
Hmm.
We were, I don't want to say we were yelling about it. When we first got the truck, there was a few of us on Twitter that actually reached out to Emma Berg from Ford, and we're like, "Hey, listen, we really, think this should be on the dashboard. Is there a way to do it?" And she's like, "No, but I'll pass it on the software team." Finally, we got it into the software. It's that the point that they're listening to us got me more excited than that showing up on the dashboard. That meant
Hmm.
that they were actually paying attention to their customers and going, "Let's make this for them." And the fact that they can update these and do that for us is a huge game changer. I like you said, Sergio, I've never had a company reach out and go, "Hey, we want to hear your thoughts." Like,
Right.
so crazy.
Yeah. And I think I mean, we're in a new era where, I mean, let's say 10 years ago, the car you bought was the car you got. Like everything was molded in place.
Yep.
Whereas now we live in an era where they can literally, I mean, we've got screens all over this thing, and those screens dictate your experience, and they can change the color, they can change the layout
Yeah.
the moment they decide to. So, I mean, and this is my first vehicle like this, to be able to know that it's going to change and evolve over time and improve. I mean, that's so exciting that they can make little tweaks like that. My question for Sergio is: so let's rewind. They're looking for a Lightning to put in this video. If you had customized it and vinyl wrapped it and thrown some bigger wheels on it, like they were not only searching for a Lightning, they were searching for a Lightning pretty close to the one they had delivered, right? They're not going to put a bunch of aftermarket stuff in their video.
Right. Yeah. I think that was the key is also trying to find one and then trying to find it in proximity to the recording, which it was right here in California. So the
Yeah,
studio wasn't far. So it was like they could get my car, they could get it to them in a couple hours. And so it was just
yeah,
like they reached out to me last minute. It was like less than a week notice. And it was just like
yeah,
Oh,
I know that they were in need. And I mean, I wasn't gonna say no because it's like, hey, Ford needs to borrow my car. Sure. Like you take it. Like I have no
you
problem
built
with
it.
that.
It's all yours.
Right. And
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I didn't have a lot of customizations on it. I mean, there's the only thing that I really did on there is the emblem, the bed cover, and that's
Hmm.
really it on that truck. So I think it worked out perfect for them because it looked stock enough besides that emblem that they should add
Hmm.
in those.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, this is a topic I've wanted to breach the last few podcasts, not only with Joe but with each guest. So you talked about is it Putco? You talked about the
Pucko.
emblem.
Yep.
You've got a bed cover. So what all modifications or accessories, like what have you bought to amplify your truck since taking delivery?
The only thing I've added was the rubber floor mats. So I did the all weather floor mats. I did
Hmm.
the I can't think of the name of the company right now, but I did the roll bed
Yeah,
cover. It's on
yeah.
there. I did the emblem, but I actually didn't do Putco. I got it from Ford directly. So I got the Ford. I mean, I know that they make the one for Ford, but I got it from Ford directly. So the only difference between Joe's and I's is Joe's actually does like a pretty cool like
Oh,
sequence.
no. I don't have
Yours
that
does
one
it?
either. I got
Okay.
mine from Ford as well. I used my Ford points for it.
Okay, cool. So I used my
Nice.
Ford points to get mine as well, so it was free. And so I know Chris got his from Putco, and his does
Yes, and his
super
does this
cool,
really.
yeah,
Super
the little
jealous.
um power up. And so I added that, and really that's it. I I don't even see myself changing much on my truck. Like I like it
No.
the way it sits.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. Is like, what's in the works? What if you could like? Are you so tied into the efficiency that you're not considering like bigger wheels? Like, I know you said you're frugal, so anything that hurts those miles per kilowatt hour is probably a non-starter for you.
Absolutely. To be honest with you, I'm so frugal that I bought a set of Lariat wheels and I throw them on my Platinum whenever I want to make sure that I can get that extra bit of range because the
Yeah.
22s, because they're bigger, that's what's making you lose your range. And so
Okay.
putting those 20s on there, I got back that 20, those 20
Yep.
miles,
Yeah.
from going from the 22s to the 20s on cruising. So it's like just doing that alone, and I used it when I towed my trailer from
Yeah.
Georgia all the way to Monterey. But I'll throw those tires on. I mean, they're heavy, so it's like I don't do it very often. But
Right.
if I know that I'm not going to be taking, or if I'm going to be taking a road trip, I I will slap those Lariat wheels on there, and I'll change them out myself.
Okay.
Smart.
Joe, I'll turn it towards you. What's you got some extra money maybe, like what are you dreaming of adding to your truck? I see you've got the Lightning vinyl
Oop, the other side.
F-150 like nameplate there, which looks pretty sweet. And is that the one that's reflective at night, like the Lightning
Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you.
reflects?
There we
Oh,
go.
now he's gonna flex on us. Okay. Oh man.
It's kind of, you can kind of see it. It's not too great. It's not dark enough here yet. It's almost dark enough.
Right.
Yeah. So I have that. I had that on my old F-150 before this. Obviously, it wasn't electrified. I
Right.
think it was just I forget what color it was actually. It might have been just black because I had black and blue XLT.
Yeah.
I got the Pucko logo like Sergio does. I also got a
Yeah.
shortened antenna. I just the stock antenna drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Was just it started actually like keeping the curve of driving at 65 miles an hour. And I was like, you know what? Let's just dim it down a little bit. And I'm
Yeah.
an AM radio guy. I didn't see a need for it anyways. So,
Right.
like Sergio said, I have the all weather floor mats for the
Yeah.
wintertime. Up
Yeah.
in upstate New York, we get a good like 2 feet of snow every winter. So,
Yeah.
tracking that in and soaking the floor mats is just silly. So,
Gotcha.
other than that, just a new car seat in December when I have my second kid. But that's the only thing I'm adding anytime soon.
Dad probs. Okay. I
Yeah.
can't relate. You two can. Sergio probably can. Not me. Well, Sergio, I mean, are you saying, Sergio, you're still rocking the long antenna?
I am still rocking the long antenna. The funny thing is that you guys are talking about that now, and I looked at one earlier today that was on a Lightning in the parking lot, and I was just like, I need to change my antenna out. Only reason why is because I do take mine through car washes, and it's annoying when I see that thing
Yeah.
just like I'm like
Yep.
it's gonna snap one day. It's gonna snap, so I might as
Yep.
well just put
Makes
the
you
little
nervous,
plug in.
doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Well, and talk about, I'm all for bang for your buck. And so like, it's only like $12 on Amazon. Like you can get,
Cheap. I'm cheap.
Yeah, my little stubby one was $7.
I'm
Yeah.
cheap. I'm cheap. So it's
I'll
hard for
send
me
you the
to
$7, Sergio. I got you, buddy.
it's hard for me to part ways with money when it comes to like the antenna works. It's functional. It's there. Yes, I don't like it, but it's like it works.
That's true. Well, you know what? Then I'll send you my long one. It's hiding under my back seat, and so you'll have a spare in case yours snaps in the car wash. Because
There
I
you
know
go.
I'm never putting that back on my truck.
I'll have to find mine in my garage. I'll send it your way too.
You might
I don't know
need
how
it
much.
when you you might need it if you put in the emblem that glows. Like you need that to like fish the cables through some.
Oh,
that.
good call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I did my installation for my emblem in the front, and so you because of the way you're running your power wires, you could use your
Yeah.
antenna to help fish it through on the
Cut right
hood,
through. Yep.
and then that way you could get it. So keep it until you at least install that.
Yeah, that's a good
I
call.
never would have thought of that. So I think I'm going to get kicked off this podcast because we tend to have different mindsets. Like I'm counting the seconds until I can afford 35s and a leveling kit for this thing. I know it's going to kill the range, but guys, it'll get me from A to B and it'll look great. I don't know. Clearly, again, different people attracted to the Lightning. If it kills my miles per kilowatt hour, which it will, then I'll reconsider. Oh, but gosh,
It's gonna look sweet. It's gonna look sweet.
It would look absolutely crazy. That'd be awesome.
I'm kind of surprised that I'm not seeing more pictures of people doing that floating around like Twitter and YouTube. With the F-150 being such a popular truck with the Raptor trim, I'm surprised we're not seeing more of that. But okay, so moving on to, I want to do a little debrief with two people that road trip a lot. I just did mine through West Virginia. I went from Cincinnati to Cary, North Carolina. To Outer Banks. And boy, West Virginia killed me, guys. So I tried Joe's advice on trusting the truck. So I told my wife, I was like, I got the backup map here, but just in case, I punched it in. The truck thought about it, and it recommended some chargers that were questionable. So I wanted to pick your brain, Joe and Sergio. Like, have you ever had the truck suggest you a charger that you kind of blacklisted and said, don't suggest this charger to me again?
I mean, I have it in my settings for it not to send me to any level 2s. I mean, so if it's trying to send you to, a regular 220, I'm not interested in that when I'm road tripping.
Okay.
I'll look those up for if it's like for a hotel or something after the fact, but I'm not interested in that on a road trip. So,
right.
If it suggests something that I don't like, I'll just select it on the navigation screen and hit replace. And then that way I can see what are the options of replacing that one. And then get it set up. Okay.
Joe, similar approach?
100%. Yeah, there's only been one charger that I can remember that I knew was down. And like you said, just you hit the replace button on it, and it showed me, I think it was like 10 other chargers in the area. And then, you change the filter so you have the level 3s on there, and you're good to go. Like you said, I don't want anything to do with level 2s or 1s when I'm road tripping anywhere, and that's the only time I ever use the public infrastructure. So, just set it to level 3, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I think if anything, I can be a cautionary tale for someone who doesn't have their Lightning yet or is planning on getting one. Admittedly, I haven't spent a lot of time in the Ford Sync navigation, and so that's why I had to call Joe at 6:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, because I was kind of having a freak out. I'm like, I know I can get to this first charger, but the truck is telling me that I need to reroute because I can't get to my first charger. And so I think, I didn't even know you could block chargers. Are you doing that from the Ford Pass app, or are you doing that from the infotainment screen?
The screen.
Yeah, you can do it in both of them if you want to, but from the screen.
Okay.
And also, one thing about Ford is, out of all the EVs I've ever owned, they have been the most conservative when it comes to recharging. So they will recommend that you recharge much sooner than you even need to. And so, can you skip it? Most of the time, yes, you can. I can tell you, when I did the first road trip in my Mach-E, it had told me when I was leaving Southern California, it wanted me to stop in, I think it was Calexico or something to that effect, or El Centro. It wanted me to stop there, and I was like, but I'm only going to stop there with like 30-something%. Like, no, I'm not going to stop there. And I mean, I made it all the way to Yuma, and I had 5% when I got to Yuma, Arizona, but it was just like, I got to skip another charge. I got there with the lower percent, so I'm going to ramp up, get more electricity much faster. So Ford has always been like that. They're very conservative. They want to make sure that you're safe. They want to make sure you're good to go. So, it's all about, once you learn your vehicle, you start to understand what it can do, how it can do it, and you start making decisions. Yes, you can look at the recommendations that they give you, but as you become more comfortable, you'll start making decisions on your own and say, you know what? Thank you for that one, but I'm going to skip it and I'm going to go to this one because I know this one's here. I actually looked at PlugShare, and it told me that there's another one over here. And I mean, and you have that freedom. That's the cool thing about having these apps and the features on that truck where you can pull up chargers and see exactly where you need to go. And although the truck might be like, no, I'm freaking out, I can't make it, I'm only going to get there with 5%,
Hmm.
you're still going to make it, truck. So let's go.
The pep talk is in order.
Right.
Okay. But it also sounds like you're not married to the Ford Pass app. You're not married to the Electrify America app. It sounds like you are utilizing multiple tools at your disposal to make sure you make educated choices of how to get from A to B. So what are those apps that you're using in addition to, is PlugShare your go-to?
PlugShare is my go-to, honestly. Like, I mean, I have PlugShare, I have ChargePoint, I have a couple of these. I'd have to look at them, but PlugShare is my number one. Exactly. So it's like
I'm a visual person. Oh,
yeah,
geez. Okay,
yeah.
a whole folder. All right.
Two pages full at least. So,
but PlugShare is my go-to only because it's almost like using Waze. If you use Waze and you become comfortable with Waze, it's user like based feedback that's on there. It's going to tell you when somebody mentioned that there's a cop up ahead, there's a car broken up ahead, there's something in the roadway. Like you
Yeah.
have users updating it live, and it's going to show you what's going on. So with PlugShare, I'm going to get that. So when I open my app and I'm like, okay, somebody just reported that the chargers are down here. You know what? I'm skipping those chargers. Or
Yeah.
if somebody reported that, they couldn't charge yesterday, but then you see people charging today, it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to include that back on my trip. So
Yeah.
PlugShare is what I'm looking at. I'm gauging if whether or not I'm going to stop at that location based on the data that people are showing that, of their experiences there. And I use it. I check in there. I let people know, hey, it's good to go. Come stop here.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
That is the
That's
one thing I do before my trips is I always verify that I can get in there.
Yeah.
There's some that have, public access is restricted. There's some that just are broken or only have one stall that are working. And you're like, all right, well, I don't want to know if I want to risk that because I'm going to land there at noon on a Saturday. The Electrify America, at least here,
Right.
is crazy busy on the weekends. So
Yeah.
it's just you just have to, I don't know, just do a little mental preparation, but at the same time, just let the truck, pick the chargers and then go, okay, I'll check those out now. And if I have to fix them, I'll fix them.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the experience that soured me a little bit on trusting the truck is I said, get me from here to Outer Banks, North Carolina. And to reiterate the point you made, Joe, it's a little sluggish at first. It's taken a lot of factors into account. I'm guessing traffic, elevation change. So I get it. It's going to move a lot faster than I could do that. But there's one charger in particular that it recommended to me that it's kind of like if your friend sets you up on a blind date and it's negative, you're like, I don't know if I'm trusting that friend again. So it did feel a little bit like that. It specifically, I don't know if either of you have been, it's another charger in West Virginia. It's at a car dealership. And on PlugShare, it was saying, friendly staff and the plug's working. I said, okay. But they're charging $40 an hour and it's a 20 kilowatt charger. And I thought to myself, this is not the type of charger that I would have routed myself to. And so that's where I thought, I don't know if I'm ready to trust the truck if it's going to recommend those types. But as you guys have educated me, you can narrow it down to level 3. But
not only that, but West Virginia doesn't have any level 3s. Am I wrong?
You're correct in saying that.
So I don't know if that's just because that was the only option for the truck is what it almost seems like. I don't know if maybe you may have to manually do that to skip over that state by hitting it right at the border, hitting a level 3 at the border before, and then once you get through West Virginia, hit another one. But I think that was its only option. Is what that sounds like.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if there's really a workaround in West Virginia.
Sergio, have you ever hit a charger, or has the truck ever brought you to a charger where you said, "Nah, this isn't for me"?
Oh yeah, it brought me to a ChargePoint charger, which was charging I think like 54 cents a kilowatt hour, and I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, the thing is that the truck knows I need electricity, it doesn't really know how much these folks are charging. So it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you. It's gonna take itself to, or tell you to take it to some place where it knows it can get replenished, but it doesn't know the factors as far as pricing. So it's like,
Yep.
yeah, I can appreciate you got me someplace where we can continue my trip. However,
Right.
I'm not paying that, so I'm gonna find something cheaper. So it
Yeah.
doesn't have an option for me to hit frugal stops only, you know. But I am
Yeah.
that guy that
Not yet.
right,
If we're loud about it enough, it might change that.
you know, I'm
They,
that guy.
yeah.
Huh? Yeah, but PlugShare allows you to look at all the free chargers. But you know,
Yes.
I'm that guy that I will go to a slower charger if the pricing is so incredible that it
Yeah.
just makes sense. You know, so there's a free charger that puts up 10 kilowatt hours in Salinas, California, and it's
Yeah.
like, if I have enough time and I have the patience to sit there or drop my truck off and go do some other stuff, I'll do it. But it's like I'm making a decision at that point, like free
Yeah.
10 kilowatt hours, like, yeah, you know, 10 kilowatts, like, yeah, maybe there's a, you know, Electrify America right around the corner that's 350, but it's like, do I
Right.
pay or do I not? So it's all
Yeah.
about what you want to do. And so the truck will get you to where it knows it can get what it needs. But
Yeah.
There might
Yeah.
be some consequences that you can't see from the truck.
What they
Yep.
need in the Ford Sync system is a lift gift toggle. That way, it's like, I don't care how long it takes me. Just give me the cheapest charging route possible, even if it takes me 13 days to get there. So tweet at some Ford people, see if we can get that in a software update coming up
I'll work
here.
on that.
I hope it's named the lift gift toggle too. Like that would be so awesome.
Yeah. Or like the code, it'll say LG something something. Just a little Easter egg so they know who inspired
Did that?
this.
Who said that?
I'm just gonna shout out here my co-pilot for the for the road trip tomorrow. Pops rolled up. Okay, so Sergio, you are one of very few people that has owned two Lightnings. So I know you started with what, the Lariat, now you got the Platinum.
Yes.
That's accurate?
Yes.
So what was missing from the Lariat that pushed you? I mean, because neither of these are cheap trucks. So
Right.
what was important to you that made you upgrade from Lariat to Platinum? Because they're both great trucks.
As frugal as I keep saying I am, yeah, I have to explain this one. So the thing about it is, when I built the truck and I ordered the truck, I was just like, I can't constitute an extra $10,000 for like bigger
Massaging
wheels
seats.
and
Right.
massaging seats. Like I was just like, I can't do it. I was like, whatever. Like I'm not gonna do it. But then I got my Lariat. I love the truck. It's comfortable. It rode smooth. Like everything about it was great until I sat in the Platinum and I cranked up the stereo. And once I cranked that music,
Yep.
I was like, oh
You got
man,
speakers in your headrest in the Platinum.
Yeah,
I mean
you know,
that's the
in
huge
the
part
roof,
of it.
like
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
ones in the roof. You got Twitter,
What is it?
tweeters, like just
18 points?
yeah, 18.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about 1,000 more kilowatts than 1,000 more watts than the
Yeah.
Lariat speakers music output. So it's like
Yeah.
that sound system is incredible. And so the sound system, in addition to the massaging seats, are cool, and I've used them actually quite frequently, especially if you turn on the heat and the massaging.
Oh,
And
I'd be
you
asleep
have
while
Blue-
I'm driving.
and you have Blue Cruise on. I'm telling you right now, that is the most relaxing drive when you're just sitting back and you put all your weight on that seat, and it's just
Yeah, man.
like kneading your back like dough.
Oh.
I mean, it's amazing. So that, and then it also has the lay flat. It also had the lay flat, which the Lariat didn't have the lay flat. And then after I started looking at like the gloss black grill, little inserts on the bottom, I was just like, it has some nice little touches to it. The wheels, I'm like, okay, it's cool. It got 22s, but I actually like the Lariat wheels better anyway.
Yeah.
So but the music is what made. I mean, I'm a big fan of music and sound, and that's what did it for me.
Okay. All right.
I gotta ask you though, Sergio. Do you use the propulsion sound?
So I can tell you, I talked smack about the propulsion sound when I first got the Mach-E's, because I've had that since February of 21, and I've always had them off. But here lately, I want to say in the last month, I've had them on all my vehicles, and
yeah,
I'm starting to feel like it's grown on me, even though I haven't had it on like all this time. Like it's starting to grow on me now. Like I have it on, and I'm just like, actually, I have the music off sometimes, and I'm just like listening to it. I'm just like, this is actually pretty cool.
It's pretty
Like,
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
I'm
do
not gonna
now.
lie. This sounds like a recipe for disaster because you're like, I got these nice, warming, massaging seats, and the vehicle's got Blue Cruise. It sounds like it's trying to like put you to sleep. You know, it's like I'll be fine. The truck will take care of it, right?
No, that
It'll wake
truck
you
will
up.
wake you up. It'll wake
Yes,
you
sir
up because
will.
after it starts yelling at you to pay attention, if you fall asleep and don't ask me how I know this, but if he starts yelling at you and beeping and you're not listening, it'll
Yeah.
start doing brake checks, and those brake checks
Ooh.
drop
It's
1 mile
like
per
instant
hour.
whiplash, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
feel
1
it.
mile per hour, and it will continue to do that until you wake up and show your eyes and grab that wheel. So,
Wow.
and eventually come to a stop if if you still don't wake up. So, yeah, there is no sleeping in the Lightning.
No.
Like I said,
Which
don't
is a
ask
good
me.
thing. It goes
Yeah.
without saying. It's a good thing.
The eye
But-
tracking is phenomenal. I can't take a drink of my coffee without it yelling at me.
Right.
But Sergio, I saw you tweet about this. Looks like a Wish.com product if I ever saw one. But it's a counterweight to put on a steering wheel to make it think that you're got your hands on the wheel. Again, this strikes me as extremely unsafe. And to your credit, that's what you were saying on Twitter too. Is like this is not what automated driving is for.
Well,
But what
yeah,
is that
so that's-
product and why does it exist?
So I can tell you now, in the Teslas that I've owned, the Teslas that I have owned, the Model X's, the S, and well, no, the 3 didn't. The 3 is different. But so the other Teslas that I've owned, if you just have standard autopilot, if you have because what Tesla does is every few seconds it tells you touch the steering wheel so I can know you're paying attention. So make sure your hands are on the steering wheel. So their full self driving, their whole autopilot isn't so auto when you get mad to touch that thing all the time. So what people started doing, and I can tell you I was guilty of it as well, is I would have a Dasani water bottle in my car and I would just shove it into my steering wheel and it would suffice and it would think it's my hand. So I could sit there and stick that in there and I could put my seat back and let the car drive by itself without even paying attention, without caring about the nag, and be reckless. And so people were falling asleep with these devices, doing that kind of stuff. I mean, there's videos out there with people sitting in their back seat while the Tesla's driving down the street or pretending they're sleeping because they're using those type of cheat devices. And so with Ford, you can't do so because it's eye tracking and it's head tracking. So if your head is not in the right direction and your eyes are not focused, it's going to turn off.
It's gonna get mad and put you in what do they call it? Blue Cruise jail.
Yes.
you can't turn it back on until you pull over, turn the truck off, and then get back in and restart it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like it won't let you use it for your rest of your trip, and if you're going, a couple 100 miles, that's gonna be a while.
Yeah. And so now some of the newer Teslas with the FSD and the interior cameras, the one that have interior cameras, you can't cheat the system anymore because now that system also wants you to pay attention. It's not as advanced as the Blue Cruise is, but they're trying to combat these folks that are like manipulating the system.
Right. Which is better and safer. Yeah, better and safer
Everybody.
for all of us.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of falling asleep at the wheel, on my trip back from Outer Banks, we avoided West Virginia, which made the trip longer, and we also tried to do it in one day. So I was behind the wheel for like 18 hours or something insane. Ooh. It was bad. But there were moments where I was like, maybe this is why people pay up $10,000 so they get that Blue Cruise, for moments like this. Someone popped in the chat, and I don't want to ignore Mark. So he said he was a former Sergio and Joe, seeking wisdom here. Former reservation holder for the Pro, but canceled his reservation when the price got hiked. So now that it's dropped again, and this was another topic we were planning on talking about, what's your guys' advice? Do you think now's a good time to jump in on the Lightning? Do you think the prices continue to drop? Do you think the value proposition at each trim, what are you guys thinking?
Well, for Mark's question specifically, the Pro isn't available for anyone but the Ford Pro customers. I don't think it's available for the regular, retail customer anymore.
Right.
I don't think they've announced that they've opened that back up.
Right. That's still true.
What he should do, I mean, that's all you, man. I mean, it depends on what price point you're looking at. It depends on what you want in the truck. We're all talking about the high end features here, but if you're just looking for the basic truck, Joe's the perfect example of an XLT that he can still get across the country and it still drives. It's not like it's a terrible product.
Right.
If that's something you want to look at, maybe that's something you want to take a look at, or you look at the used ones. They're starting to show up on the market at very, very low values. I've seen Lariats for 60, 70,000 on the market. So I mean that's a possibility too. So market, look hard, man. They're there. You can find them.
Yeah. Sergio, do you have any strong feelings about the price? I mean, again, we've established you like to hop cars. You got an affinity for switching cars. So now, looking at the current snapshot of the prices for each trim, I mean, I know we talked about why you jumped up to the Platinum, but do you think there's a different trim that's like a really compelling proposition at these new prices?
So I could tell you right now, if you're okay with just your sound quality being regular, and don't get me wrong, the Lariat still has a good sound system. I absolutely love the Lariat. I love the Lariat. I like the XLT, the Pro. I even had a Pro as a loaner. I enjoyed that as well.
Very cool.
So although it had the smaller screen and it was much more minimalistic when it came to like amenities, I still appreciate it. The truck still did its job. It still rode great. It was still the truck. And so, kind of like what Mark is asking about, the price went, and it was unfortunate how it started to jump and people couldn't get their reservation or they couldn't secure them, as quick. But it's all about like what Joe said, search, hunt, find the pre-owned market, see what you can find, see what you can pull up. But I think a happy medium is the XLT or the Lariat. I think, the Platinum is for folks who need that little bit more, and I can tell you, I'm in that category. Is that I need a little bit more, and I should have known better, because with my Mach-E's, I got a first edition. I didn't get a premium. I didn't get a select. I went with the first edition because I was like, I want everything. Then I got the GT Performance Edition. I didn't get the regular GT because I wanted to have that extra, and so it's like I should have known better, but I was trying to be better. I was trying to be different, and it didn't work out. So
still fell for it and went to the top.
Still fell for it and went to the top. The pricing, I think that it's going to start to stabilize a little bit. The competition is ramping up out there. There's different incentives that are being offered as well. So I mean, even at the prices that they are now, there's different states that are offering incentives. Depends on where Mark is at. You could possibly get, California gives you up to $12,500 on an EV. So it's like, that's another reason why I normally buy all my electric cars in California. You can get some really amazing rebates just because you live in California. And if you live in a certain county, you'll get even more. So the state will give you money, the county will give you money, your electrical company will give you money, and then if there's federal rebates as well, you get that. So it's like,
I think right now, with every day that passes, my advice to you, Mark, with every day that passes, it's a less dire situation as someone who wants a Lightning. I remember being in the dark times of feeling like my Lightning was never going to arrive. I saw people like Sergio and Joe, and I just wanted so badly to be in the club, and it felt like it was never going to happen. But with every day that passes, we see that Ford's ramping up production, and the used market is growing slowly, but it's growing. And the prices are dropping. And so advice to Mark is that just give it time, check out cars.com, and don't sleep on the XLT. I think the moment the Pro price went up from $40,000, the XLT was smart money because of the extra features you get. So that's what I would say to Mark. But I do
looks like Mark had a follow up. Which sites are we looking at for the used Lightning Pro market?
Pro though,
you're gonna have to hunt, man.
I'll tell you right now, my go-to for any used cars at all, even new cars, is cargurus.com. So
Okay.
cargurus, that's GURUS.com,
Hmm.
is the best app. It will show you every used car or any new car in your area. It'll tell you what their as far as pricing, if it's overpriced, if it's underpriced, if it's priced right. It will give you all the details that you need to do, and then it will let you go to that dealer site in order to check it out further and see other
Yeah.
videos or whatever they have. But that's the site I use all the time, and I like to buy cars. I mean, it's a problem. It's an addiction. I need to get help, but one day I
Hey,
will.
it could be worse, man. There could be more detrimental effects to your addiction. It's okay. We're here for
Thank
you.
Thank you. I
Right.
appreciate it.
There are worse vices to have.
Right.
So, and my advice again for Mark's follow up, I did a whole live stream back before I got my Lightning where I just called Ford dealers. I think I called over 100 just to see if they had one sleeping on their lot that wasn't on cars.com or something. So find states. I mean, you have to ask yourself, how badly do you want the vehicle? Like, are you willing to fly to West Virginia and pick up the one that guy traded back
Yep.
in? Are you willing to go far to get this vehicle? Because if you look further outside your local circle, you might have more success.
A lot more success.
Speaking of Sergio's addiction that we are self-diagnosing here, let's say tomorrow there's a recall on all the Lightnings, battery, something. What EV or EV truck excites you the most right now? Like if they forced you to consider another one, because I know I've seen your Twitter. There's a lot of Cybertruck talk, so I just wanted to give you the chance to air like what other vehicles are exciting you right now.
So the Rivian is a great, like, so I've driven the Rivian R1T, I've driven the R1S. I like the Rivian. I don't like its size, but I like the truck overall. I mean, really, and I'm gonna sound terrible at this, but that's the only two out there right now. Like now, if something was to happen to my Lightning, if I don't get another Lightning, it would be a Rivian. So those are the two. We could talk about Cybertruck all day and every day that we want to, but it's not here. I mean, Tesla announced that thing back on November 21 of 2019.
Yeah,
it's not here. So I just.
Can I interject? I just want to ask: did you have a reservation / do you?
I do.
Okay.
I still have one, and so the only reason I haven't gotten rid of it is one. And I'm sounding real terrible at this. It's just $100, so it's not like if it's the end of the world, and if I want to get it back, I can. And then two is, I want to see what they're actually going to do, because having that reservation and saying, you know what, I'm a day one, reservation holder. Actually, within a certain, I think I'm like number 2,500 and something. So I'm in there. So I'm in there.
I thought you were gonna say 25, and I was like,
no, it's like 2,500 and something. Like I'm in there.
That's
so
still
it's like
crazy. What do I have, like
crazy
1.2 million or something like that, right?
Yeah, and so for somebody like myself who got in there that early, I mean, I could buy it, I could flip it, I could keep it, I could do. It depends. I mean, I'm a very big critic of Tesla, and I just don't know what that quality is going to be like on that thing.
Yeah.
So, I'm not holding my breath for it, only because they've disappointed me numerous times, and
yeah. Well, does that mindset stem from, because you've owned multiple Teslas? Were those all negative experiences, or like where's that coming from?
So I have had two Model X's that were lemons, and they were back to back. So my first Model X was a 2019, and that thing, if it was raining outside and I hit a puddle, water would splash onto the dashboard, and so it would come up from like by the A-pillar onto the dashboard. It was horrible. And Tesla's response to me is what started to rub me the wrong way. Like the first one, they told me stop driving it in the rain. That was their response to me. Not let us fix this. They told me stop driving it in the rain. Then I had some weird whacked out attorney in Michigan that made a video about me talking about, well, maybe it's because it's abuse and you should be driving it through puddles. And it's like, I'm going through intersections that are not flooded, that are not closed, that are not. Right. I mean, little bit
Yeah.
of water, but
I'm not driving through
that
floodwaters. Jeez.
right, exactly. And then I
Inspect,
got
yes, Chris.
right, exactly. That was always their attitude. It's always within spec. It's within spec. And then I got my second. I turned in that one, and I bought a 2020 Performance X, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna give him another shot. Like maybe that one was just a fluke. That thing went through 14 drive shafts in a year.
Mm.
My rear
Whoa.
hatch went bad. My air conditioner went bad. My driver's side window had to be the regulator got changed like 3 times. Like,
Hmm.
um, my AC, like I said, had went bad in the middle of the summer in Georgia, which was miserable. And then having to wait weeks to get it into service. Them not
Yeah.
having loaner cars. Them only wanting to give me Uber credits. Like the whole experience just started to get
Uber
really
credits.
bad.
Oh my
Yeah.
lord.
Right. And so it's like, for some people that might work if they're in like a metropolitan area, but I was in Southeast
Yeah.
Georgia. So you're offering
Hmm.
me Uber credits. That's not going to cut it. One, there's not even a
No.
lot of
Right.
Uber drivers in St. Mary's. And then
Hmm.
two, it was just like, then their community, a lot of their community members that were really loud were just obnoxious. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done with the association. I'm done with trying to
Yeah.
be, I didn't want to have that, birds of a feather kind of, I didn't want that anymore. So,
Right.
um, that has me turned off. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, and I'll announce that as well. It's like I still own a Tesla. Like I have a Tesla outside right now. So
Yeah.
it's not that I'm 100% in saying that they're just trash. It's just
Yeah.
I'm not like the car that I have. I use for renting out on Turo. It's not like if it's
Yeah.
something personal that I drive, but it works for that. Will
Hmm.
I take it and make it my personal vehicle ever? Probably not. Like I
Yeah.
don't like it enough. Like I love the amenities, I love the luxury, I love the comfort, I love the fit and finish of my Mach-E's, my Lightning.
Yeah.
And so even if I was to look at the Rivian, like I like the way those vehicles look. I like the way I don't know what Chevy's gonna put out, when they're gonna put it out, but if
Yeah.
Chevy brings that Silverado, I'm number two, for that reservation. So it's like if that comes out, I'm gonna be ready for that truck as well. It's like I told you guys I have a bad addiction. It's terrible. Like, so,
No,
if
it's not even that you have a reservation. It's that you're number 2, man.
I'm
Number
number two,
two.
and so, I'm gonna be one of the first to get that Chevy when it comes out. Like, so I'm gonna be excited about that. I'm gonna say something else. You guys are gonna continue judging me, but one vehicle that I've always wanted that I have not owned is the Hummer, and mine is
Mm.
getting built in 2 months, and so it's like,
Hummer
I can't
EV?
wait. Yeah, the Hummer
Oh,
EV. So it's like
oh
I
my
can't wait to
god.
see what that's gonna be like. That might blow me away and be like, this is amazing, but I don't know.
But the Hummer is just to rent out on Turo, right? That's not for you. You
Oh,
would never.
that would be for me. That would be for me.
Can
I've
you?
I've always wanted an H1, and I just couldn't come to terms with the diesel or retrofitting it
Yeah.
to gas. But electric, I'm sold. Like it's the
Yeah.
only car I have not had on my bucket list. So it's like that's the only one that I have not been able to check off. I've had every other car that as a kid I've ever wanted, and that's the only one.
I have to
Could
ask.
you?
I know you served in the military. Were you riding in the Hummers over there, or the Humvees over there? That's what
Absolutely,
made you want one.
absolutely. Well, that and just the idea of it's just beastly and just so
It's
obnoxious. Like
it's ridiculously American.
it is. So
That's the
I
best way to
just
put it.
so I just want one. I really want one. I'm just not gonna buy a gas or diesel.
There's no shame in that. I've still got my Silverado reservation.
Okay.
I'm really chewing on the thought of a 70-year-old couple visiting California who needs a car on Turo, and they unknowingly rent this Hummer EV. Can you do that and make a YouTube out of it, please? Just make a video. I just want to
Oh,
know. Oh boy.
what
And
kind
I
of
mean, you got
experience?
to ask yourself, yeah, how much would somebody charge daily for that on Turo? It'd be insane.
Yeah, that thing's
I would charge
ridiculous.
insane. I mean, the crazy thing is the only car I have on Turo is that Tesla that I have out there. It's a Model
Mm,
3. That's the only one I have on there. I don't have my Mach-E's. I don't have my Lightning. I don't have any of
yeah.
my other. I mean, I have a couple other cars, but the only one that's on there is that Tesla. It's like, so would I put the Hummer on there? Probably, maybe not,
Probably not.
because
No, it doesn't sound like
That
it.
thing's a tank. No.
it's gonna be my toy.
Well, so I have another quick question. Um, so I had to listen to the Twitter Spaces of Jim Farley and Elon. I couldn't get there live, but I
Yes.
was watching it after the fact, and I'm like kind of scrubbing through. I'm like, okay, they're doing the thing, like, because I had seen tweets, I knew what the news was,
Right.
and then they're letting people in, and I'm like, geez, that I could never. What would I say? And then here comes Sergio, and I thought
Dude,
to
that was
myself, Sergio tweets a lot about Tesla and Ford, and I'm like, what was that experience like? Did they warn you, like, hey, you're about to talk to him? Did you have notes? Did you just let it flow? What happened there?
So that was completely a surprise. I mean, when they go live, it's kind of like this. You don't know what's going to be introduced. You don't know what's going to be talked about. You don't know where anything is headed. And so you, like, let's say any of the folks that are commenting there, let's say Chris, Mark, or
Yeah,
anybody, Gary, if they wanted to jump in on this conversation, you could bring in anybody and they raise their hand and say, I want to be brought in. You could select any one of them and then,
yeah,
have them ask the question and have the floor. So they
yeah,
brought me in and I was just like, I mean, one, I was shocked. I mean, I said that. I'm like, I'm very like I'm in shock. Like,
yeah,
so I think it was pretty cool. And this again goes to speaking volumes because Jim Farley was the host of that. And
yeah,
so the fact that I got brought in, I'm sure it was by him, to sit there and ask a question and be part of the conversation. And it's like
yeah,
I've had chances to give input on different things. I've been invited to a room before that I didn't get to speak in. I've, sat at a table where I couldn't speak at, but to be brought into a room, sat at a table and been able to ask a question and somebody answer me,
yeah,
that honestly has been one of the highlights of this entire, you know, influencing and just being an EV enthusiast. It's just, I mean, I got to talk to, well, I've talked to Jim a few times, which is great. He's a
yeah,
great guy. But to speak to Jim and Elon Musk on a phone call, it's just like, how many people can say that they, you know,
yeah,
have had that chance?
no one else beyond you deserved to get into that conversation. But, like,
yeah,
seriously, I saw your
yeah,
name pop up, man, and I was like, oh, you know what? This is going to be an absolute hit immediately. Like, either
yeah.
that or you're going to just trash Tesla. But I didn't see that coming from you. It
I
didn't
was
seem
Well,
like the
I
nervous.
proper
thought
I
about
was
moment.
it. I
nervous.
thought about it. I thought about. I got a lot of messages asking me not to act up. So just so you know, people were messaging me saying, "Do
Yeah.
not act up."
Yeah, this is a brand new relationship that these two CEOs are forming, and they're like, they didn't want you crashing in like the Kool-Aid man, through the wall. Like, but no, credit to you, because I mean, I've never owned a Tesla, but I've already made so many memories with this truck. When they're admitting you to that room, I would almost get emotional of how many miles I spent in those Teslas, and how many miles I spent in the Mach-E's, and how many miles I spent towing in the Lightning. Like, I would be overwhelmed by the moment, I think. So credit to you for keeping your head and making the most of that moment with those two guys. That's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, all right. Well, I think I mean, Joe, do you have any other questions for Sergio? I'm trying to make the most of this moment, because I don't think I'm driving to California anytime soon. Maybe we
No,
could.
I don't have any plans either at this point. I'd love to make the road trip out to California, but you get the old 9 to 5 I got to go to all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
This is so
oh
good.
man,
But Sergio, the next time you're doing a cross country road trip, or I mean,
yes.
Joe, admin of the Lightning Clubs of America, is there a Lightning Club? I'm trying to think, what's between Cincinnati and California? Nebraska? I don't know. Is there a Nebraska Lightning Club of America? The Cornhuskers? Any
We do have a
activity over there?
Midwest. We do have a Midwest Lightning Club.
Okay.
We're working on defining those jurisdictions at this point.
Okay.
Closest to Sergio would be the Bay Area that Chris
Right.
runs.
Part of that.
But
I'm part of that.
oh yeah, we tried to get you to run it, but you're a busy man. Let's be honest. You're
No,
everywhere, man.
Chris is perfect for it. He's absolutely great and amazing to handle
Yeah.
that.
Oh, absolutely.
I will come back, and so I do plan on visiting Ohio. I do plan on going back to DC, New York. I'm always on the East Coast. Like,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised at how many times I just fly in and fly back out. And I'm
Yeah,
there for the
there was the one day there you flew out and lost. I think did you lose your rental car or something like that, and you needed a ride?
yes.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 hours away. I was like, "Oh, dude, you can definitely hit me up. I'll come down and pick you up, definitely."
Yeah, so and I'm always I just that's another thing about me. I love to fly. Not only do I truly enjoy driving, but I love flying, and I like to just sit back and have just sit in this plane and just I don't know why, just don't judge me, but I like eating, I like to have a nice drink, and I just like to be in the air. Like
Yeah, man.
it feels so cool. So I'll take a flight once a month, maybe twice a month, and I'll just pick some random place. And sometimes it's like 24, 48 hours notice, and I'll just book a flight and just go someplace. And it literally would be for 24 hours. I went to
That's
Hawaii
awesome.
for 24 hours. It's just, I'm very random. Like I said, don't judge me. I just,
Not at all.
The
I'm
Strike
jealous.
Zone podcast has been and will always be a judgment-free zone. So
okay.
a
Absolutely.
few cars from now, feel free to come on back. There will be no judgment about whatever electric vehicle you end up in. Sergio, I'm so happy that we got to talk. And if the Cornhusker Lightning Club of America hosts a Cars and Coffee right in between us, we'll text and we'll try to meet up there.
Absolutely.
Because I've already learned, so much from both of you, and I look forward to learning more about being part of the EV community from you guys. So thank you for endowing me with some wisdom tonight. I really appreciate that.
No problem at all. I had a great time. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
And Sergio, as always, thank you for your service, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight. Thank you for chatting with the questions. And I'm sure we'll be having Sergio back sometime in the future. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Signing off for Joe and Sergio. Appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot.
See you guys.